There's something going on. Crowd loving it. It's a ball, fly ball. Home run!
3, 2, 1. All right, Ryan. So unlike other NHL Lockout updates that we've given, there's actually a little bit of information this time around.
Some news.
Yeah. So let's start with what happened. I guess it was on Tuesday. We were given information, or the news came out that the NHL actually produced a contract offer to the NHLPA, basically to save the full 82-game season that would begin on November 2nd. The contract sort of goes as follows, where they were offering 50-50 in terms of the HRR, which is the revenue that the NHL provides through its concessions, tickets, parking, so on and so forth.
Hockey-related revenue.
And then basically the term would have been for 6 years plus a mutual option for the 7. Players would take a significant cut when you consider their pay right now is at 57% plus benefits. They're willing to go down to 50% including benefits. So it's about a 12.8% loss for the players if they were to take this cut. If a player was over $105,000 in terms of annual pay and he played in the American Hockey League, that would count against the cap.
So for example, anybody that made $300,000 in the NHL, anything over and above $105,000 counts against the big league's cap.
Yeah. The other thing is those long contracts like Roberto Luongo,
Rick DiPietro.
any of those contracts, even if they retired, they still remained on the cap all the way to the end of their contract. So the contracts weren't necessarily, say Luongo retired in 4 years and he had his contract go for another 7, the cap would still be on the books for another 3 years.
So it's a true guaranteed contract.
So
now, do you know, I mean obviously you know this a little better than I do you know off the top of your head if the club could buy out the remainder of that contract?
No, they're stuck with it.
So if he retires, they can't negotiate a buyout so they can get it off the books sooner?
No. The revenue sharing, they bumped it up just a bit. I think it was $200,000 or $200 million. The top 5 organizations would pay out to the other organizations, which I thought was a little bit strange. I mean, considering that it would be funded by the top 10 revenue grossing teams. So if there was a team that wasn't making revenue, or they were making the 11th, they would actually get some revenue back, even if they're making some money.
And the players seem to be beaking quite a bit about how they want the current contracts guaranteed. My take on that, based on the NHL proposal, was that the money wouldn't come to them as it reads in their current contracts. The money that's owed to them this year, next year, or the year after would be deferred. The money that would take them over the cap anyway, or the revenue sharing part. Or sorry, not revenue sharing, the 50%.
Yeah.
That the players would get their money. It would be at a later date.
The other issues were the NHL wanted to sort of give shorter contracts, so the maximum contract would be about 5 years. If you came in the league, you get a 2-year contract, not a 3-year guaranteed contract, and you'd be on their books for 8 years. You'd be there in the club's control for 8 years. So if you were drafted, like let's say Nugent Hopkins was a couple years ago, he would be only offered a 2-year contract when he first got in the league, and he wouldn't be arbitrarily available for any other team to give him a contract for another 6 years after the initial contract. Right now it's
a 3-year rookie contract off the hop, depending on his age.
Yeah.
If he's an older rookie, if he's deemed an older rookie, he can sign a prorated kind of contract. But any rookie that comes out at the age of 18 is a 3-year player contract, from my understanding anyway. As opposed to the leverage this year would be a 2-year, right?
Right. So, looking at the NHL counter proposal, basically there's 3 of them today. It seems like the third one, if you can consider the third one, because really doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, or 3. I mean, there is one that says it's pretty much exactly what the owners requested. However, they requested that whatever contracts were signed will be honored in full per year as stated before the lockout was mandated. And I think the ironic part is that Craig Leopold, who is the owner of the Minnesota Wild, who signed the 2 biggest contracts in the offseason, was part of the negotiating committee for the NHL. So he's the one who's saying, no, I don't want to pay those contracts, and he's the one who just signed them 3 months ago to Suter and to Parise. Anyways, in the end, the players are not willing to they don't want to look as they're the bad guys here, and to be honest, I see their point. A lot of it, the owners had just paid all these contracts out to the players, and the players are saying, "Wait a minute, why did we sign these if you were just going to be like, no problem, we're going to sign them?" Like, they're imaginary numbers in the end, right? So in the end, they're just saying, you're not going to get paid that, or you're going to get paid it over such a elongated period of time. There's no guarantee you'll get that either. So I think the players also want more revenue sharing between the teams. I think $200 million in consideration of teams like Phoenix, Columbus, Florida, even the Islanders, who maybe not make as much money as Philadelphia, Toronto, Montreal. The players want more revenue into those teams, mostly because then it kicks back to the players. The other interesting issue would be that with all those contracts mandated onto the salary cap, there would be a 1-year grace period of a $70 million salary cap, and then be brought back down to around $55 million.
Right, so I heard that as well, and my understanding of that is that's just crazy. You know, that the clubs that can spend $70 million are going to go out for 1 year and sign a whole bunch of 1-year contracts to ramp up their payroll, and then gas them all at the end of this year. And it kind of is a one-off. It's almost like an exhibition year. You know, it's got an asterisk next to it.
It's true, but the other thing is that even if, let's say, this contract was signed by the players that the NHL offered, most teams are around that salary cap, because that would have been the salary cap given if they had continued to keep playing. So the salary cap would have been around $70 million, so most teams would have been in the clear for this particular season. But next season, you better hope that your team has a lot of salary cap or room under $55 million, which I would assume many teams wouldn't, because there'd be a lot of teams looking to get under that salary cap. For you particularly, I mean, you're a Leafs fan. I would imagine under any proposal you would want no salary cap, because they can spend whatever they want, where teams like Florida, Columbus, Phoenix, Dallas may be under more of a tighter budget, where if you're a Leafs fan, a Red Wings fan, a Canadiens fan, a Flyers fan, and those are the teams that are going to be paying the revenue sharing, you would hope that there'd be no salary cap, or the salary cap can keep going up because you can afford to pay those prices. So the NHL has just come out with a statement, Ryan, basically from Bill Daly, who's the Deputy Commissioner of the NHL, just the guy underneath Gary Bettman, and it's going to read it verbatim, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So the so-called 50-50 deal, plus honoring current contracts proposed by the NHL Players Association earlier today, is being misrepresented. It is not a 50-50 deal. It is most likely a 56 to 57% deal in the first year, and now gets to 50 during the proposed 5-year term of the agreement. The proposed contemplates paying the players approximately $650 million outside of the players' share. In effect, the union is proposing a change to the accounting rules to be able to say 50-50, when in reality it's not. The union told us that they had not yet run the numbers, but we did. Now that's a release from the NHL.
So, in essence, that's saying that, you know, the players' union is saying they have a 50-50 deal, but it's not 50-50 for the current contract.
Right.
It's only 50-50 for the new contracts, and the NHL is calling them on that, saying, how can you call that a 50-50 deal? It's not like our 50-50 deal.
I think the issue I have with either side, really, but I mean mostly on the owner side, when you consider the fact that the players did take 48 hours to come up with 3 different counter proposals, based upon what the owners had presented them earlier in the week. And then you look at, they come to the table with 3 offers, and then 10 minutes later they come back to them and say, instead of, we're going to look these over, we'll get back to you in a day or two, they said right away in 10 minutes, nope, not taking them, we're on different pages, you go your way, we'll go our way, we gave you our best offer that we could have, and that's it. So to me, it seems like the owners maybe aren't willing to negotiate. I mean, not that the players necessarily were giving them their best offer either, but at least there was 3 different kind of offers. They could have at least tried to work off something, and in the end.
Well, yeah, to me it's just more posturing. I mean, for the fact the NHL says this is their best deal yet, we'll see. But one would believe that this is not their final and best offer. That if the NHL came out with this one, does that mean now the union has to propose the next one?
But they just did. They just offered 3 of them. So
it's counter offer, right? It's counter offer to the NHL offer.
Right.
Does the NHLPA now come up with a separate offer now and let the NHL counter that? I don't know. That's usually where these negotiations go. It's kind of like bidding on a home, right? I mean, you throw a number right there, and the other side says no, and they throw back a number.
So
That's the way it should go, anyway.
if you were to say right now what your feeling is on if we're going to have a season or not, what would you say at this point?
Starting to lean more and more towards no.
In the end, I think the owners are willing to take a lot. They're willing, not willing. They're pretty much putting themselves on, not even on the line. I can't even say the word I want to use. Is that to be honest, I probably am not in the owners' favor in this one, because they do seem to be taking after they just had a record-breaking sort of revenue season. The players are willing to go down to 50-50, or I guess in the minds of the NHL, they're not willing to go down to that far. But the reason the NHL is the NHL is because of the players, and there's a reason why the game is getting so popular right now. It's because the players are so good, and the players are producing at a higher rate than maybe ever before we've ever seen in the game. And the fact that these players are gobbled up around the world when they're locked out to contracts around the world, maybe not at the same salary, but they're wanted players. I mean, there's a reason why the NHL is considered one of the top leagues in the world.
Well, this is it, right? I mean, as far as somewhere else to play, the NFL, there isn't really anywhere else to go play.
No, there's not really a lot of bargaining there.
CFL.
Not a lot of bargaining there.
There's no USFL anymore. There's no XFL. There's a version of the Arena League down south. There is no World League anymore.
No. I mean, and in the other leagues you can look at, the NBA has the Euro League. They have sort of a bargaining right there, and there's some teams willing to spend some money. And then Major League Baseball does not, but I mean, Major League Baseball is America's game. I mean, the
only counter to them is the Japanese leagues, really, that can offer some money.
Right, so it's very difficult. Anyways, guys, we'll keep you updated on where this progresses, but as of today, it does not look good. There's no future plans to talk. There's no future plans to negotiate. Once again, the owners have given a contract proposals to the players on Tuesday, and the players came back today with 3 counter proposals. All 3 were rejected within 10 minutes of the NHL receiving them. Anyways, we'll keep you up to date, guys. Right now, there's not really much more to say other than there's no deal. There's no negotiating day ahead as of today. We'll be on it. Ryan will be on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Follow us. All our information is on our website, 1611.com.